Alright, I'm back again. I'm going to talk about some places where you could probably find some good stuff to throw on eBay or Craigslist or whatever site you use to sell the stuff that you pick up. Everybody knows about yard sales, estate sales, flea markets, swap meets, all that type of stuff. Everybody also knows about storage auctions now because of the TV shows and documentaries and everything else they're making about it. So it all depends on the area you live in, though, because there's different places you can go in different areas. I mean, some places may have a lot of thrift stores, secondhand stores, and antique stores that sell shit cheap just to get rid of it, stuff like that. I mean, small towns, a lot of people don't really like going to small towns because they don't think they're going to find anything that they can actually make a profit off of. But to me, I like small towns because I've found a lot of the best stuff I've ever found in small towns. But if you live in a big town like LA or whatever, there's a lot of places that you can go in these bigger towns too. Besides the stuff that you know about. Besides going on Craigslist, going on eBay, going on different classified ad sites and stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can find stuff. You can even place ads in the newspaper, or actually, I don't know if they do this everywhere else, but in my area where I live at, the phone company and the cable company and all that, it's all connected. So there's this local channel that they have here where they run ads and stuff like that. So we get to go down there and place an ad on there saying we buy this, we buy that, whatever. Basically, I always just put in my ad, I buy anything of value. Make it short and simple and people call. But you could also, there's different types of newspapers that you could pick up, and like there's one called, in different parts of the country, there's one called American Classifieds or Thrifty Nickel or whatever it's called, that I've found a lot of good stuff in when I'm out in the area where they have that newspaper. They also have a website that I like to check every now and then. But like I said, there's different ways you can pick up stuff from the newspapers, from the different classified ad websites like Craigslist, and one that Redneck Picker told me about the other day, Backpage.com or something like that. Then we have one in this area too that's kind of like those, but it's ran by the local phone company, and basically everybody in the state goes on that website that I'm talking about and tries to sell stuff. So I've picked up a lot of stuff off of that website too. But there's a lot of websites that are kind of more geared towards their local area, their own state, basically, because that's what the website that the phone company here, they only allow people that live in this state to post ads on there. They don't let anybody out of state post any ads on it. So I kind of found that to be, I don't know, it's kind of an advantage to me because in my area there's not really that many other pickers that I have to really compete with. Up until today, when I ran into another picker earlier, when I was out doing my yard sale runs, up until then, I've only ran into one other picker, and that was like, shit, a year ago, I think. But every now and then I'll run into a picker who's from out of town or out of state or something like that on the road traveling, trying to make some money or whatever, but usually I don't run into that many pickers. I try to stick to the smaller towns where most pickers don't like to go, because that's where I find the best stuff usually. But every now and then I'll have to go to a bigger town, but I don't really like doing that because there's too many other pickers in the bigger towns. But I mean, it's not just the websites and stuff like that where you can find stuff either. You can go, I've done this myself. They were having, this was in Tucumcari, New Mexico, a couple of, like 3 years ago, something like that, maybe 4. They were having this huge sale at this, I think it was ran by a church or something like that, but it wasn't a storage auction, but it was on the storage facility property. They had, I think it was 3 or 4 units of stuff, and then there was a building across the street from the storage facility that was packed full of stuff. So I went over there, I was looking around, nobody was really there. I mean, there was the only people that were there were the people that were actually running the sale. Besides my brother-in-law, he was there, but he wasn't really there because he's kind of, that's just how he is. He's not all there. But anyway, eventually I started talking to the people that were running the sale, and the lady started telling me how they had been trying to sell that stuff for like 2 years, and they hadn't sold more than $100 worth of it in the 2 years that they'd been trying to sell it. So I said, you know what, I have a building here, so why not? Because at the time I had a building that my family was using because they had a store there. So I said, what the hell? So I said, how much stuff do you have? She goes, well, we have all the stuff in these units you see, and all the stuff that's on the ground and all that. And then we have an entire building full of stuff across the street. So they took me across the street, showed me everything they had. I'm going, so how much do you want for everything? She goes, at this point, I'd probably give it to you just to get rid of it, because we've had too much trouble selling it, and it's become more of a problem than it's worth. So I said, you know what, I'll take it. And I started to pull out some money. One of the guys that was there goes, no, you know what, we don't even want the money, just take it and get it out of here. Because they had, what it was, I think the reason why they were in such a hurry to get rid of it is because they were gonna remodel the building that it was in to build something for the church. I'm not sure what they ended up building because I never went back to that town since then. But they were in a hurry to get rid of it, so I ended up getting, I think it was like 6, maybe 7 pickup loads of stuff for free. Just because they were in such a hurry to get rid of it, because they hadn't been able to sell any of it the whole time they were trying to sell it. And I ended up picking up, I think there were 2 hospital beds that I picked up, and a bunch of other crap that, I mean, there was so much stuff there, I can't even remember what all there was, but there was a ton of stuff. But the point I'm trying to make is every now and that's not the only time I've done that either. There was this storage facility in Pueblo, Colorado, that the guy that owns it kind of runs it like a flea market. He rents the units out and lets people sell stuff off the property and stuff like that. I went there once and picked up an entire U-Haul full of stuff that these people, they were moving out of state, and I think they said they were moving to Arizona or California or somewhere like that. But I picked up an entire, and I'm not talking about one of the small U-Haul trucks either. I'm talking about the biggest one they have, completely packed full of stuff. I picked that up because they were moving and they were just in a hurry to get rid of it. I paid them like $200 for the whole thing, for all of it. So the point I'm trying to get to is, if you go to yard sales or anything like that, if you know how to work it right, you could pick stuff up for almost nothing. And sometimes you can pick up stuff for nothing. Just like I did in Tucumcari, New Mexico. So there's a lot of ways you can pick stuff up. It's not just that either though. Like if you have if you know somebody that owns rental properties or something like that, like I do, because my family owns a ton of them. Every now and then, like if somebody moves out and the person who owns that property, they don't want to mess with the stuff that's there, so you talk to them every now and then, they'll give you whatever's there just to get off their property. And a lot of times you can find a lot of good shit, because I've done it. I had these people once, it was a rental property, I mean it was a huge house, they were renting, and then all of a sudden, one day they just left and never went back. The house was sitting there empty with all their stuff in it for like 6 months, and they never came back. So the guy who owned it came to me, he goes, I need to get all this crap out of this house because I'm going to put it up for sale and get rid of the house because I don't want to mess with it anymore. So I said, okay, how much you want for everything there? He goes, just get it off my property and you can have it. So I went over there and packed all that stuff up. I didn't even have enough room or anywhere to really keep it at the time because I didn't live where I live now. Now my house is big enough, I'll never run out of room. But back then, I was living in a smaller house, so I didn't really have anywhere to put it. So I ended up having to go and rent a building to keep it in. Because that house was packed full of furniture, TVs, appliances, all their clothes. Nobody ever did figure out what the hell happened to those people either, because they never went back. So stuff like that happens a lot, where people just go off and leave everything. They just decide they don't want to live there anymore and just take off and never go back. So if you can work it right, like if you know people that own rental properties, or if you want to work it where you go to yard sales and stuff like that, I mean, you can, it's not just that either. You can do the complete buyouts at estate sales and yard sales and all that crap. Like me and a few other people I know, we do that. But there's a lot of ways that you can find a lot of good stuff that you can resell. But it all depends. It all depends on where you're going to sell it too. So you need to figure that part out before you start buying a lot of stuff, because you need to have somewhere to sell it. Either eBay, Craigslist, or a store, or whatever, however you want to work it. It's all up to you how you sell it, but you got to figure that part out, because that's the most important thing. Because what's the point of buying something if you have no way to make a profit or sell it?